growing up with a father that was a D-Day veteran, went into Omaha Beach on the second wave on D-Day, and so he, as a result of spending a number of years in Europe in all of the major battles, he came home with what was called shell shock.
Okay.
And shell shock is very similar to what today they call PTSD or PTSI. And so, we grew up as a family. We grew up with him suffering the casualty of that. But we also grew up being taught to respect our military, respect our country, and to respect God. So, all of the values that we have within our organization today were instilled in me from the time I could walk.
Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of Business Talk Library, and today we have the privilege of sitting with a not-for-profit organization that is making a huge difference. Now, this one is special for me because my father is a retired Army soldier, so I have a very special place for veterans. So we have with us Mr. Allen McCord, the founder of Hook, Line, and Hero, joining us for the show today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be out and be on your show today. Appreciate your time.
Awesome. Now today we are also at the annual fishing event. Now last year was the first one, and this year, like I said, there are people that are excited about it. I see the boat lifts are out here, so the teams are already out there fishing. What made you guys decide to do an annual fishing tournament?
Well, for us, this is a fundraiser.
Okay.
This is our final fundraiser of the year. It's centered around our organization, Hook, Line, and Heroes, in that we're supporting PTS and wounded veterans, and so for us to be able to get out in the beauty of God's creation, which is what our organization is all about, to be able to continue that through a fundraiser enables us to get more publicity for our nonprofit, but B, to be able to be involved in the local fishing community as well, to let them know what's going on with our organization.
Okay. So let's first take a step back and say, okay, all right, I saw that your father was a World War II veteran, which is extreme gratitude for all of his service. Now, for yourself, when you thought about veterans, kind of what made you say, okay, all right, this is the organization that I want to start?
Well, growing up, it's a long story. I'll try to be as brief as I can, but growing up with a father that was a D-Day veteran, went into Omaha Beach on the second wave on D-Day, and so he, as a result of spending a number of years in Europe in all of the major battles, he came home with what was called shell shock.
Okay.
And shell shock is very similar to what today they call PTSD or PTSI. And so, we grew up as a family. We grew up with him suffering the casualty of that. But we also grew up being taught to respect our military, respect our country, and to respect God. So, all of the values that we have within our organization today were instilled in me from the time I could walk, as far as a respect standpoint is concerned. And, I grew up, I was a teenager during the Vietnam War, and so I saw what our military faced coming back from the Vietnam War, and saw the pain that they went through, and then continued, not to the same degree, but it continued with the Iraq War, and what I began to see was a lot of the same things, is that it was becoming accepted by society, and once the parade was over, so to speak, our veterans were really forgotten about, especially our guys that are suffering, that have service-connected disabilities. And about early 2000, I was fortunate enough to see a program on TV that was filmed out west someplace. It was called Take a Vet Fishing.
Okay.
And it was a professional bass fisherman that had taken a Iraq War veteran. I think it was Desert Storm, actually, fishing. and through that day, the camaraderie that they developed brought them closer together. They created community, and I thought to myself, this is what we need. This is what our military needs. This is what our wounded veterans need. Is they need people to lift them up after the fact and tell them that their country still loves them, and tell them that they appreciate them, and help them to build a community to get them out from closed doors. A lot of our wounded and a lot of our PTSD veterans become shut-ins as a result of their casualties in the war. And we have 22 suicides a day with veterans.
Yes.
And one is too much, let alone 22. So my wife and I had just moved here from Virginia, and I'm an avid fisherman, grew up in South Florida my whole life. And so, I really started to pray about, how can I do what this guy did? And my first action was to call them and say, hey, how can we do this on the East Coast?
Okay.
And they said, hey, this was just a one-time thing. We don't do that, but maybe you call these people and they might do something. And so I started on a month-long journey of calling different organizations that serve veterans to find out exactly what they did to see how I could be involved. And what I found out was there's a lot of organizations out there. There's a lot of great organizations out there, but they're all geared more towards group type events, group type training, that kind of thing. And very few, if any, were geared towards one-on-one relationships and towards developing a long-term community with the veteran. So through prayer, I felt led to open Hook, Line, and Heroes. And the Lord told me, hey, you know what? This is what you need to do. You need to figure out how to do it, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so it started, and that kind of all took place May of 2017.
Okay.
And through the course of the following months, we began with my inner circle, so to speak, which is my family. We started developing the concept, and we started developing the logo and everything that goes along with that. So by October 2017, we were a full-fledged 501c3 nonprofit.
Awesome. Yeah, that's quite the journey to go from, like I said, a passion that you had with fishing yourself to then seeing the need, because that was one of the things that I saw also growing up. As my father fought in Desert Storm, and I remember being a boy when my brothers and I didn't really know what was going on when he was called to go fight in Desert Storm. We were actually stationed and living in Germany at the time. Wow. And so it's just like the questions that, myself, I was 5 at the time, of just kind of asking your mother, like, hey, when is Dad coming home? Or like, where is he? Or why isn't he home today? And her having to just explain that. And then when we saw these soldiers come back, and just to see that visibly, even some of my friends that I remember were saying, like, their father or their mother was a little bit different. Right. Now that they had come back, to where it is a very serious situation that I think not a lot of people are fully aware or appreciate, that, hey, all that goes into that. So I guess for your mother, I mean, when your father came back and your family, what were some of the things that your family kind of had to change to really help your father?
I don't know that we really, at that time, it was accepted differently. It was handled differently. Oh, he has shell shock. Look, at the time growing up, it didn't mean anything to me because I didn't have an understanding of what it meant, and I didn't have an understanding of what could be different. I mean,
Okay.
you know, my dad was my dad. I was born and I was raised, and that's the way he was, you know. But looking back today, you know, I can see a lot of the symptoms and the things that we grew up with thinking was normal is a symptom of PTSD.
Okay.
And anger. You know, my dad had a high flash point. Seclusion. You know, my dad had wanted to spend a lot of time with his family and didn't want any friends.
Okay.
He wanted to be secluded, so to speak. And that's all classic symptoms of PTSD. Along with deep depression and anxiety and those types of things. So to us, it was normal.
Okay.
But in today's standards, now that we have identified it, there's a clinical explanation for it. Now it's PTSD, and we treat it with psychologists.
Okay.
VA sometimes treats it with medicine. The thing is, for me and for us, if you look through our flyer, you won't see PTSD anywhere in our flyer. You'll see PTS, and our reason for that is that it's not a disorder. It is something that has to do with the trauma in your life.
Okay.
And it's an injury. It's something that can be cured, or not necessarily cured. I guess you could say cured by work and by being involved, by prayer, by a lot of different things. And I'm by no means a doctor or a specialist. I'm a lowly sales guy by day and hook, line, and heroes leader by night. But I believe it's an injury, and I believe if the veterans get the right kind of help, they can work through it. And we've got some board members that are veterans that suffer from PTS, and so I just when we did our initial flyer, I said, you know what, we're just going to put PTS in there. We're going to put post-traumatic stress. And soon after that, I was friends with the late Dale Beatty from Purple Heart Homes, and Dale, as a wounded veteran, reiterated to me, it's not a disorder. It's an injury. It's something that can be overcome. A lot of times, what I hear from talking with veterans is when they go into the VA, and they just pump them full of medicine and numb them up, so to speak, and send them on down the road. And what we do and what our organization is about is getting them out into the beauty of God's creation, allowing them to have the healing, soothing effect of being on the water and relaxing. And then we carry that one step further in the community of our organization. Okay. We have, like I said, a group of veterans that follow up. We call each veteran every month. To make sure that they're doing okay. Everyone that we've taken on a trip, to make sure they're doing okay, to see if there's anything that they need. Are they in good health? All of that kind of things, because probably 50% of the veterans that we take out are Vietnam veterans.
Oh, wow.
So not only are we taking them fishing, and not only are we doing the things that our organization does to recreate a passion for fishing with them, but we're also creating a long-term community with them. We do
Okay.
what we call alumni events, where we get all of our veterans together, and I say all of our veterans. I hold them close to my heart because I go on every fishing trip,
Okay.
and so I've gotten to know each of the veterans, and look forward to seeing them on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I think the community aspect is a very big thing, because I know when I was younger and we were living in Germany, I mean, all we had was the community of all the fellow soldiers and their families. So when they came back, there was just this close-knitness that I think it's just having that community, that fellowship, where you had people who understood that, hey, you had gone through something, but you still had people there that were there to love you, be patient with you.
Exactly.
I think that made a huge difference. And even as I looked at when my father came back, because he was a medic, so just having to deal with situations of, hey, if something happened to a soldier, having to provide the treatment in field, and just the things that he saw. I mean, when I was younger, he didn't tell me, but as I got older and we talked a little bit more, just the things that he saw that impacted him. I think for him, just seeing him coming back, and then the church that we were involved in, there were a lot of military veterans there and active duty there at the church, and just being able to have that fellowship and that community of people who understood and people who were going to be patient with him as he was getting back to himself.
Right.
Or finding out, hey, who am I after this traumatic experience?
Exactly. And our military, and I'm not a veteran. Let me just say that right off the bat. But our military, we tear our soldiers down to train them into fighting machines. Okay. And we send them off to war, and they create a new family when they're at war, and in a lot of cases they lose that family, or they lose part of that family, which creates trauma. And then to make it worse, when they come back, we don't teach them how to re-engage into society. You ask any veteran today, and they'll tell you, they didn't teach me how to re-engage in society. I had to learn that on my own.
Gotcha.
And so you take that challenge, and you add to it the temperament of being a killing machine 2 weeks ago, and now you're back in civilization. Very, very difficult for anybody to do.
Yes.
For anybody. And that love and appreciation that we try to show, I mean, you cannot imagine the impact that it has on these guys. Even the Vietnam veterans. I mean, I've literally had Vietnam veterans just sit and tear up and give me hugs and say, you know what, this is the first time that I've felt appreciated.
Wow.
Because some of the things that we do for them and we instill in them is, God loves you, we love you, and your country still loves you. Our country went through a bad time where we kind of lost our way during the Vietnam War, but they appreciate the Veterans now. It's just not a lot of people say thank you.
Yes.
And I got asked a couple months ago, as everyday people, what can we do? And one of the things that I said was, if you see somebody with a hat on, a Vietnam veteran hat, or in uniform, say thank you. I mean, just that little thing means so much to our veterans, especially now, because we've, again, I feel, my opinion, lost sight.
Yes.
It's become an everyday occurrence. You don't hear about it on the news. You don't know that we still have thousands of soldiers overseas in harm's way.
Yes.
So just that little simple thing. I have a friend that buys $5 Chick-fil-A gift cards.
Okay.
And she sees somebody in uniform, she gives them a Chick-fil-A gift card, says, hey, thank you for your service.
Wow.
And just a little thing like that. So It's very important. What we do and what we're about, what our organization is about is, we take our guys, there I go saying our guys again. Well, they are our guys. Our military are all of our guys.
Yes.
But, we take them fishing, and at the end of the day, we give them fishing tackle.
Okay.
Enough that they can start fishing again.
Okay.
Enough that they can redevelop a passion for fishing. And then we give them a daily devotional and a Bible.
Okay.
I don't care what religion they are. I don't care, Hindu, whatever. If they don't want to use it, that's their prerogative.
Yeah.
But it's my prerogative and Hook, Line, and Hero's prerogative and part of our mission to give them the tools to develop a relationship with Christ if they want to.
Okay.
That's what we're all about. We want them to keep fishing. We want them to develop a relationship with Christ.
Okay.
Both of those two things can help heal their pain.
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Now, are many of the veterans that come out on the trips are they, I guess, avid fishers beforehand, or some of them new to it, or some of them just learning?
So far, of the trips that we've done in the last 2 years, I would say only a couple were avid fishermen.
Okay.
Most have not fished for a number of years.
Okay.
We've had a couple that have not fished since the Vietnam War.
Oh, wow.
We have one gentleman that pretty much had injuries, both physical and emotional injuries, and he hadn't fished since the war. And now he fishes twice a week.
Oh, wow.
Keeps it in the trunk of his car, and if he sees a place to fish, man, he stops and drops a line.
Okay.
And that's what it's all about. Getting them out of the house. I mean, that guy will tell you he worked a couple of jobs, and he would tell you, you know what? When I came home from work, it was me and my dog, and that's all I wanted.
Oh, wow.
I took my dog for a walk, and we stayed inside and we watched TV.
Oh, wow.
For 40 years.
Wow.
I mean, that's about 40 or 50 years since Vietnam. So, now he's getting out twice a week, man. He loves it. He every time we have an event, something, I call him on the phone. If he can make it, he's there.
Okay.
And that's the way a lot of the guys are, because we've started to develop that community.
So other than the fishing tournament that's going on today, like, how frequently do you have events where veterans can come out and come on the fishing trips that you guys have?
Our fishing trips are done by application.
Okay.
So they can go on our website at www.hooklineandheroes.org, and they can either be nominated or they can self-nominate.
Okay.
Once they do that, I get the nomination form probably within 24 hours. I contact them by phone, and from there I send them an application, and then they go through a vetting process. They have to send us documentation, proof of service, and proof of disability, because we want, our mission is PTS and wounded veterans, and so that's a first come type thing.
Okay.
Once they fill out the application, send us back the documentation, then I reach out to them again, and I ask them point blank, if you could go fishing, where do you want to go fishing?
Okay.
So it's not, hey, I'm going to throw you on a boat and throw you on Lake Norman and we're going to catch some bass. We've done trips from Lake Norman all the way down to Sebastian Inlet in Florida.
Okay.
So, it's where they want to go fishing. If you look on our website, one of the things that it says on our website is we want it to be a memorable experience or an unforgettable experience. And by doing that, we can go where they want to go.
Okay.
It's not going to be memorable if they go where I want to go.
Yeah.
So, and then, what we do is we hire a professional fishing guide. Okay. I'm an avid fisherman, but I want them to be able to catch fish. And so we hire a professional fishing guide, and we go and fish where they want to fish. Usually it's overnight.
Okay.
We'll go in on for example, I'm doing a trip in 2 weeks. where we'll go in on a Friday night, have dinner, spend the night, get up Saturday morning, go fishing, fish most of the day, have a late lunch, and then head back.
Okay, nice.
Kind of thing. So you know, it's not just a fish and done. It's you know, and that's all time spent developing a relationship and getting to know them getting to know me, getting to know our organization, how sincere we are, and things like that. And then the culmination of the whole thing is presenting them with the fishing tackle and the Bible and so forth at the end of the trip.
Okay.
Most do not know that they're going to get that. It's a big surprise to them.
Okay.
And you know, we have a lot of great a lot of great organizations that donate stuff to us to give to them. This is one of the sponsors, Cajun Rods, and we have many sponsors that donate to us for annual trips.
Okay.
To do things, and then we, you know, when we do fundraisers like we get all of this stuff donated to do door prizes, and then we also do the alumni events, which we get all the alumni from our trip. Then we do a barbecue once a year for the military order, the Purple Heart.
Okay.
A lot of our veterans come from the Purple Heart community, and so I happen to know the commander for the Matthews chapter, which is a pretty big chapter. Okay. So we do a barbecue for them once a year, and you know, we're growing some of the things that we do into the community. As we get a little bit older, we recognize a need. We might do something else. Really, it all depends what we do and how much we do. Right now, really depends on the donations that we get, the monetary donations, whether it's corporate donations or individuals that have matching donations from their companies, or just individuals that just go on our website and make a donation.
Okay.
You know, each of the trips that we do, one-on-one trip, it costs our organization about $1,000. And you know, that's a combination of, well, actually it's not. That's true cost. It's a little bit more than that, but we have, you know, some of the fishing tackle that gets donated, stuff like that. But you know, the hotel room, the meals, the fuel, the guide fee, which is the most expensive part of the trip. We've got what we call Healing Heroes, which is monthly withdrawal or monthly donation, and we have levels for that. Corporate donations. You know, if they donate a certain amount, they get X. If they donate a certain amount, they get X. And you know, anywhere from social media exposure all the way up to full media exposure with our organization, and actually getting to go on a fishing trip. So we have a lot of different ways to get corporations involved in our organization. So so I mean, as we're getting close to wrapping the interview up, what's something that you've learned as you've done this organization, leading this organization, and just interacting with the veterans and the volunteers? And what's something that you learned that you were like, wow, I didn't realize I was going to learn that or experience that when I started this? Well, a couple of things. First of all, when I started this, I had no idea how many veterans that we have nationally with service-connected disabilities. There's over 2 million veterans nationally. There's I can't remember the exact number, but just in North Carolina alone, about 135,000.
Oh wow!
So you know, that one of the things I learned was how many. You know, as an everyday human being, you don't think about the numbers, and you know, you hear on the media how bad the VA is and all of this, that, and the other, but you never hear how many guys are wounded, guys and gals. And, you know, so that's one of the things that I learned. And the other thing that I learned was just how much they need and appreciate the attention that they get for their service. People don't people take for granted what our military does for us. They take for granted the fact that there's still thousands of people fighting for what we do every day.
Yes.
You know, it's just become accepted. And, you know, just those two things alone make me want to do this even more. You know, our hope eventually is to get this national. You know, right now there's a large enough number of people just in the Carolinas to keep us more than busy. You know, through all of the things that we do for veterans, we've been in existence for about 2 years, and probably mid-year next year we'll have touched 100 people already.
Wow.
And you know, and we're just scratching the surface. We are just starting to scratch the surface. So there's a huge need in all facets. I mean, there's a lot of nonprofits out there, like I said. There's a lot of organizations that do things, great organizations that do things for veterans, and we can't do enough for them.
Well, we want to say thank you for what you are doing, and also to help you spread the word so you can continue to do more in building those quality relationships with our veterans, who we greatly appreciate, and that they need our love and our support, and they need that relationship and that connection. Yeah, so Allen, thank you for coming on to the show.
And I appreciate the opportunity. You know, I'm just the face of the organization. You know, I've got a great team behind me, and they do all the work. They do all of the things behind the scenes that make us what we are. And you know, I'm very fortunate to have all the people that are here, and fortunate to have this opportunity to spread the word.
Oh, well, thank you for being on the show.